The internet is a very good place for that, but the issue is that some students do not have as much access as some others do. So, but we encourage students to read more than what we have really specified, so that they gain much more knowledge, and it will be easier for them to follow this course. And another thing is, we have actually mentioned in this particular example we were taking, like see what learning activities are recommended to learn the required section. So this is another key issue, that students should follow the syllabus as well as the LMS, because for example, we have mentioned some, like I mentioned previously, categorize the computer components into input, output, storage, memory and others. So we basically would give a list of components of hardware devices, and we would expect students to be able to do this categorization. So if students have not done this activity, then during the exam or during the assessment they are going to face a big problem, because they haven't done it, they don't know how to do it. But if they have done this activity, it should be very simple for them, because it is always already done. And also match the components to their functionalities. This is another activity we have mentioned in the syllabus. So in this as well, like we should be able, the student should be able to directly match when we give a functionality to what device actually does that. So if we say capture an image, so that should be able to refer to either a digital camera or maybe even a scanner. So student should be able to match it. And also there are a lot more additional learning activities mentioned in the learning management systems. So that is also important, that they visit the LMS and then they follow each of those activities, because it is important that I state that student questions during their final exam and the assessment will be based on these learning activities. So if they do not follow them, they are going to have a problem in answering the final examination and the assessments.
And as you mentioned, computer systems is a very practical subject. So it's very hard to learn it simply by reading. So it's very important that they engage in these learning activities. So I think we try to replicate the real world activities as much as possible in the online learning management system.
Yes, so it is like I told, the LMS is a very student friendly environment, and it is not just like reading a book where the student understands according to his interpretation, but the LMS is a very interactive environment which is enjoyable to students and provides an enjoyable learning environment.
Actually, it's much more fun than just simply reading the book.
Yes. And next we've actually got a practice quiz. So for example, like this is one of the practice quizzes we have given students, and some of them have already done it, and we expect the others to do it, because some of these practice quizzes will be in their final evaluation. So it is important that they had a practice in doing these example quizzes. So this quiz says which of the following are the key functionalities of a computer system. So there are 5 answers given, and read in raw data, process raw data, develop new ideas, output information, store and retrieve data. So we have given 5 answers, and the students are supposed to select the correct answers out of them. Now if students have gone through, now this is image I've taken out of the students guidebook, and if students have gone through either the LMS or if students have gone through the guidebook, they should be able to easily identify this image, and then they should be able to see that what a computer does. So this image shows that the computer takes input, processes it, stores or retrieves data from storage, and also outputs information. So ultimately, when they come to answering the practice quiz, they should be able to identify that read in raw data, process raw data, output information, store and retrieve data are the 4 correct answers, and the wrong answer is develop new ideas. So if they have actually gone through this cycle of learning and they've done the practice quizzes, exams should be pretty much easy for them.
So in this particular question, there are 4 answers, right?
Yes.
So they get to know about the patterns of answers, the pattern of questions too, right? Because sometimes they may think that there is only one answer. So by practicing these questions, they get a good practice in answering questions in the final exam. And I'm sure that most of the questions are based on the material available in the LMS, as well as the material available through the guidebook and the reference books.
Yes, but like I want to say again, it is important that they do the learning activities, because certain questions will be based on the learning activities. So these questions will not be given forehand. They'll have to do the learning activities and be able to answer these questions.
Okay. Shall we talk about the final exam?
Yes, so preparing for the final examination is a very important thing, and we won't talk about too much detail, but just to give a brief introduction, we have the BIT handbook for more details. So they'll have a final exam and 2 assessments, one at the end of the first session and then at the end of the second half. And like I told you, do the learning activities mentioned in the syllabus and the LMS, and read the guidebook and the reference book, so that you should be able to do the final exam in a much easier manner.
I think we hope that we were able to answer some of the questions that you had in mind. We'll come back to you again in another episode of Forum for BIT to discuss the second half of the course. Until then, goodbye.